Now at this stage, once we have the geometry all figured out and all matched, it's time to do the last part of the ultimate test. And that would be to apply a very simple texture to those proxy geometries, and later on render that out, put it in After Effects, and see what happens. Before I continue to do that, I would like to take both of these extra proxy geometry pieces and add them to this layer, which I prepared for the box the guy is standing on. So, selected these two, right click on the layer, add selected object. So now I have all the objects here highlighted. There you go. So I'm going to open up the rendering editors. I'm going to go to the Hypershade. And in this stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check a surface shader. Now, why do I choose a surface shader? I choose a surface shader because a surface shader is not being affected by any kind of a lights that I have in Maya. Now, I didn't put any kind of lights, but I'm not going to take any chances on this one. So I'm going to call it surface shader, and double click on the surface shader will give me the attributes for the surface shader. The out color for the first surface shader is going to be a simple checker box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take my Hypershade. I'll just make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to select the entire layer here. As you can see, I have the layer. Right click, select object. Whoops. Select objects. And then after all these objects had been selected, I'm going to take my right click on the surface shader and say assign material to selection. As you can see, let me just operate the texture. I have the texture shader on my geometry. The best thing to do now is to go ahead and render this out and throw the render into After Effects. So what I'm going to do is, before I even go to render, I'm going to have to set up a few things. The first thing I'm going to set up is going to be the render settings. As you can see here, I'm going to click on the render settings. Now this image plane has a certain frame size. So I'm going to, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to render with Maya software. There's no need for mental ray here. I'm going to go to the Maya software, change the quality to production quality, go back to the common tab, and I'm going to give it a certain name. If not, you're just going to inherit the name of my Maya file, which is set001. I'm going to change the format from IFF to TGA, and just because I want the alpha channel around it. Frame animation extension is going to be name.number, serial number.extension. And I'm going to say that the frame padding of how many leading zeros I want would be 4. And start frame would be 1, end frame would be 101. And then the renderable cameras, as you can see here, I have the perspective camera to render, and I have the match move camera export with an alpha channel. I don't need the perspective camera. All I need is this camera only. So I'm going to click on the trash can next to the perspective camera. And here in the preset, I'm going to change it to the size of my original video, which was something like 709 on 532, I believe. And then once I hit close here, before I hit render, batch render in Maya, I go to the view, image plane attributes, of course, image plane 1. And I'm going to select the display mode of my image plane to none. So all I've got is just the proxy geometry that is going to be rendered. If I give it just a quick render, you'll notice that it's the wrong camera. Let me render the camera here. All I get is something similar to this with an alpha channel. So in the next video, all I have to do now is just basically batch render and let it run. Don't forget that every time you work with Maya, you have to set up the project so you know exactly where everything goes to, including the renders. So in the next video, I'm gonna bring the renders into After Effects.